We like to have a lot of fun on the show.
And for insurance purposes, it's £8,500.
£400.
220, going twice, gotta go guess what, Nat? Dead man walking!
Hello, and welcome to my new channel, Antique Expert Expert. I may know nothing about antiques, but there's nothing I don't know about antique experts. So if you've landed on my channel, then you're in luck, because you're one of the first, and it also means that you share my interest in establishing which of the multiple antique experts out there is any good, if any. That's the voyage of discovery I've been on for the last 3 years, and I figured it was time to share my findings with the world. So what I've done is created a system for separating the wheat from the chaff in the antique expert community. A mysterious group of colourful individuals. I love them all. Some of them are good and some of them are not so good. But that's what you're going to find out. So in episode 1 we are going to be looking at bargain hunt, and I'll explain why I'm focusing on bargain hunt at another time. But suffice it to say that Bargain Hunt is the UK's longest running and most popular and factual entertainment programme. It's had over 2,000 episodes and still going strong, and seems to be a breeding ground for experts who often go on to become celebrities in their own right, and they often go on to do multiple projects as antique experts. So that's the starting point, and specifically we're looking at season 64, which was broadcast between I think November 2022 and March 2023, so relatively recent. And we're going to be looking at the experts' bonus buys for the series and ranking them, and I'll be giving you the top 10. Now, if you haven't seen Bargain Hunt, it doesn't really matter, but I will give you a quick overview. Essentially, they have 2 antique experts on the show. They're each allocated a team. The task is to go off to an antique fair, buy three items that they then go on to sell at auction, ideally for a profit. And then the winning team is the team that makes the biggest profit or the smallest loss. Now, within that format, they have another feature, which is called the bonus buy. And that is essentially an item that the expert buys on their own, off camera, in their own time, presumably, with the leftover lolly, as they call it. In other words, the money that's left over from buying the 3 items with the team, he gives to the expert goes off, buys a bonus buy, and then he returns at auction and says to the team, right, this is what I've got. Are you interested in essentially going with it or rejecting it? If they go with it, any profit it makes goes to their score or their winnings, and any loss comes off their score. So that's the bonus buy, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So in season 64, there were 34 episodes, one of which was a charity episode, which I don't do. I don't include that in my calculations. Again, I'll cover that at a later date. So we're talking about 33 episodes, and we're talking about 14 experts who appeared on the series. Here is a map of all 30 experts who've appeared on the programme since season 40, and these are the 14 experts who were featured in season 64.
Expert category is Top 10 Bonus Buys.
It is worth noting or emphasising that the challenge of buying at retail and selling at auction is arguably one of the hardest you could present really to an antique expert, because they're used to doing the opposite, buying at auction, selling at retail. It's not dissimilar to attempting to buy a meal in a restaurant and then sell it in the supermarket for a profit. So we are in a topsy-turvy world really when it comes to bargain hunt, but I suppose if it was the opposite, then it wouldn't be such a compelling programme. Anyway, so here we go, the top 10 in order in which they were broadcast, so don't read anything into that when you're assessing which you think will be the most valuable. First up was Tim Weeks, and they've been shopping at the Detling Antique, Vintage and Collectibles Fair, and he bought a tiny little silver cup, and this was his team's reaction to that.
Oh.
What do you think?
I think it's...
So clearly they were underwhelmed, but they went with the bonus buy because it only cost him 25 quid. It is pure. It is made of pure silver, and it's also hallmarked 1925. So it's a good item. The team estimated that it would cost 25 to 30, and that's exactly what it did cost, 25 quid. So moving on to the next episode, which was episode 5, which featured Nick Hall. The shopping venue was again Detling, Antique, Vintage and Collectibles Fair. And the item that he presented to his teams was this Georgian Revival recliner, which this was their reaction to.
How gorgeous and glamorous is that?
Yes. I just want to recline on it.
Well, I think you
And they actually also liked it. And indeed, they tested it. And it seemed to stand up to the testing process. So when Nick Hall presented this to the team, he described it as classic.
a classic Giltwood two-seater stall.
Which presumably is a good thing. He said it was an absolute steal.
Absolute steal. I gave £50 for that.
And he was hoping that it would make about £100. He was confident, but then again, Nick Hall often is. And his team's response was basically,
Let's do it.
So on to item number 3. This was episode 6. It was Izzy Baumer, who is a relatively new addition to the expert lineup. And I know that she used to work for Hanson's, and she also works with Tim Weeks now. So she purchased a novelty pencil and inkwell in the form of a gun. And she pointed it at her contestants and pulled the trigger, and out popped a pencil. Now what didn't pop out was a little inkwell which was built into the gun. The reason it didn't pop out was because the Bargain Hunt production crew seemed to have somehow lost this inkwell, which had obviously fallen out of the gun and was lost forever. So that instantly brought the value of the item down in terms of its auctionable value. She spent £52 on it, and she said that she had basically seen these sell for £70 to £100 consistently. But with the dipping pen missing, then that's obviously going to reduce the desirability of the item. So the team decided they were going to go with it anyway, and I'll tell you what happened later. Okay, on to item 4, and this was Rue Irvin's purchase from Southall Racecourse, and she bought an Egyptian ceramic cat, which on the face of it might not appeal, but it did only cost £15, and it led to one of the blue team literally jumping up and down on the ground for joy, which was a positive reaction. They thought that she had paid 25 to 30 for it, so they were delighted to hear that it was only cost £15. And obviously, given the fact that it had caused one of them to jump up and down on the ground in delight, they decided to go with it. So they also decided to go with the bonus buy. Okay, item 5 was purchased by Danny Sebastian, and he bought one of the most popular items that experts buy when it comes to bonus buys, purely because they tend to be very reliable in terms of holding their price. He bought a silver fruit knife with a mother of pearl handle, a classic item. He only paid £25 for it. Well, I say he only paid £25 for it. They can be even less expensive than that. And he described it as follows.
Quite worn, it's quite rubbed out is the marking. So
And then a couple of seconds later, he described it as follows.
fabulous condition.
So a little bit of salesmanship creeping through there into Danny's patter, sales patter. He estimated it as believing it would get between about £40 and £50, so doubling its money. And the team were totally taken in by it and decided they were going to go with it as well. So that was number 5, and it was also episode 12. Okay, on to item number 6, which was purchased by Nick Hall at the Newark Antique and Collectors Fair. This was episode 13 in chronological order, and he bought a sampler. Not the type that you or I might be familiar with from the early 1980s, as pioneered by the likes of Akai, but the type of sampler that you would make if you were a young schoolgirl and you were asked to embroider a piece of material painstakingly with a poem and some shapes. And these samplers are incredibly very popular still, which to me is an absolute mystery. They look grubby, brown, dated. Certainly wouldn't want to put one of those on my wall, but people do. And so they do become quite desirable if you can get them for the right price.
Yes.
Yes.
Positively,
Okay.
yes.
So with a positive yes.
On to item number 7, and the expert was Kate Bliss, and the venue was the Peterborough Festival Antiques, which is one of the largest antique fairs in Europe, held a couple of days a year, literally thousands of vendors and exhibitors. And Kate purchased a pair of silver salts with their liners, and somehow she purchased them for £35. And one feature that you should be mindful of in considering your valuations is that the silver hallmark was 958, and we operate in the UK to a standard of 925, which means 925 parts silver to every 1,000. So this was 958, so you're basically getting more silver for your buck. And Kate, upon presenting these items to the team, suggested that they would fetch between £60 and £80 at auction. And needless to say, as with most teams who are lucky enough to get Kate Bliss, they decided they would go with a bonus buy. On to item 8, and this was another contribution by Nick Hall, and he had purchased this at the Detling Antiques and Collectors Fair for a princely sum of £10. Now the globe is like the fruit knife with one of the most reliable antiques you could ever buy, because they always seem to hold their value no matter what condition they're in. And this one is in particularly bad condition, which is presumably why it only cost him £10. Needless to say, the effect of the globe was to have one of the contestants jumping up and down on the ground with joy again, which was a somewhat extreme response to a £10 globe. However, it was probably one of the reasons why they decided that they would go with it, and they said of Nick that they completely trust him. Raj, to his credit, managed to find a boxwood and ebony chess set, which was complete, and I like the way that he presents it to the teams. It reminded me of Paul Daniels or any other magician, really.
Tree, have a look. A box.
Ooh, a box.
No, not just a box. A chest.
And he was very pleased with himself, as this steely expression shows, I think, when telling them that he only paid £25.
No, I only paid £25 for this. No, this could make a profit.
And then the final item was purchased by Kate Bliss, early 20th century gilt metal and enamel 4-leaf clover desk set. The blue team here placed quite a high amount of importance on the luckiness of a 4-leaf clover, which I wouldn't recommend if I was purchasing antiques for a profit. But they saw significance in that and they decided to go with it. Okay, so just to summarise the runners and riders, we have Tim Weeks' silver trophy, paid £25. Nick Hall's Georgian Revival gilded window seat, £50. Izzy's novelty pencil and inkwell in the form of a gun, £52 paid. We have Rue Irvin's Egyptian ceramic cat, £15 paid. We have Danny's silver knife, the mother of pearl handle, for £25. We have Nick Hall's framed sampler, cost £40. Kate Bliss's Victorian silver salts, cost £35. Nick Hall's globe, cost £10. Raj Bisram's boxwood and ebony chess set, cost £25. And Kate Bliss's early 20th century gilt, metal and enamel 4-leaf clover desk set for £22. So them's the choices, and let's move immediately on to the results.
Category is Top 10 Bonus Buys.
Series 64. 10th place, Nick Hall.
Starting with number 10, it was Nick Hall. Oh, she just said that, but you don't know how much profit the Globe made. So let's find out from Hugo Lemon at Bourne Auctions.
Start me off at £30. £30 I'm bid and two. £30 I'm bid, 32, 30, 37 and 40 on commission. 42, 42, 45. Get 47, are you all done? £47 then and selling then at 47.
What can I say? So for
9th place, Nick Hall.
Yeah, so Nick Hall was also Nick Hall's Georgian Revival window seat was the 9th best buying decision of season 64. And the auctioneer there was obviously also Hugo Lemon at Bourne Auctions.
50 anyone, Charlie? 50 I'm bid online. 50, 60, 65, 70, 5. I'm bid, thank you, at 80 and 5. Selling then at 95.
wow!
That was well good.
Nick's bonus buy.
8th place, Kate Bliss.
Okay, it was Kate Bliss, or one of Kate Bliss's purchases in 8th, and that was the pair of silver salts with the boosted silver content, and they also made £45. And I know there are a lot of Nick Hall fans out there who won't be happy with the fact that he's been placed 9th, but the justification for that is that he earned £45 profit on a slightly larger outlay, spending 50 quid, whereas Kate Bliss generated £45 profit, only spending £35. So that's the rationale for why Kate was given 8th in the end. Look, I don't make the rules, so you're gonna have to get over it, Nick Hall, and Nick Hall fans and his huge fan base. So.
We are in at £35 bid. £35, £40, £60, £60, £60 a bid, 65, £70. At £80, I'm bid at £80. At 80, it's gone £80.
Yes!
And sold £80.
7th place, Kate Bliss.
Okay, so you remember Kate's little desk set with the bits and bobs and the enamel clover, remember that bit, was the 7th most profitable buy, and Richard Winston of Winston's up in Lincolnshire is about to determine how much profit it made.
With commission bids, 15, 25 bid, £30, 35, thank you, with yours. £40, 45, £50, thank you, £60, £70, £70, I bid, £70, all done and sold, £70.
Wow. That's amazing.
6th place, Rue Irvine.
So Rue's Egyptian ceramic cat, was the 6th most profitable buy of season 64. And the auctioneer here is Charles Hanson. And we're in a marquee on the lawn outside his grade 2 listed Bishart House, which is one of the Hanson locations these days.
I'm only bid £10, 12, 15, 18.
Yes, yes, yes.
25, 35. 50 unbid. 5. I'm bid now, £65. I'm asking 70. I'll take one more bid. Going. It's your cat, madam. Sold. Yes.
5th place, Nick Hall.
So I think everyone got rather swept along with the bidding on that. I mean, Charles gave it the 5, 10, 15, and suddenly before you know it, you're spending 65 quid on a piece of studio pottery that's not even signed by anyone. But anyway, that is the mark of a good auctioneer. And so in 5th place was Nick Hall's sampler. And as feared, they are still popular. And it's about to go under the hammer now up in Derbyshire with Bamford's, and the auctioneer is Sean Devitt.
£40 started quickly. That £40 is bid, thank you. At 55, 60 coming back one more. Sure. Come on. 60's bid 5, 70, 5, 90 coming back. 90 for you. 95 and selling last.
Brilliant.
Wow.
And 95.
95 pounds.
4th place, Raj Bisram.
So Raj's boxwood and ebony chess set was the 4th best decision of season 64. And we're off to Kent and T.W. Gaze in order to auction this one. The auctioneer, incidentally, is Edward Taxel Webber.
£50? Yes, 50's bid. 5, 60, 5, 70, 5, 80, 5, 90. At 90 the bid now. 90's online, they take it away at £90.
Oh. 3rd place, Izzy Balmer.
3rd was Izzy Balmer's novelty gun, against all the odds, given that it was incomplete and it was missing a part of it. So that was quite unfair, because normally when bits break off in transit or get lost, they get an insurance assessment, and then the team gets the benefit of the insurance assessment plus any overachievement in the auction room. And none of that was offered. They just lost it and went, well, you know, it's sorry. And so I thought that was actually really unfair. Regardless, John Cook of Gerrard's up in Blackpool is about to put it under the hammer.
Bids there, 44, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95, 110, 120. At £120, any advance on 120. All finished at 120.
Way.
2nd place, Danny Sebastian.
So yeah, Danny's mother of pearl handled silver knife was the 2nd best decision of season 64. Not that he knew very much about it, in fairness, because it was Anita who established that there was a hallmark on it, and that it was Sheffield, 1875.
Quite worn, it's quite rubbed out is the markings.
So through luck or judgment,
fabulous condition.
Danny's knife took 2nd, and Anita's about to auction it now and find out how much it actually made in profit terms.
I have both screens interested. £100. Any advance in £100? £100.
1st place, Tim Weeks.
Which means, rather appropriately, that Tim Weeks' little silver trophy, the one from Sheffield, 1925, was the most profitable bonus buy for season 64. Not the most profitable purchase, because when the experts go around with their teams, there were many items that made more profit than Tim Weeks' little trophy. But this bonus buy aspect of the show is sort of expert against expert. The public aren't there to get in the way and frustrate their progress. So it's the sort of Puritans League. It's the one they all want to win, really. So that's one notch on the bedpost for Tim Weeks. Now, next time we'll be looking at the other end of the league, which is where they definitely don't want to be, which is in the red. And maybe we'll find people who are in the black and the red at the same time. You'll find out if you tune in for episode 2, which actually is available now because I put it out before episode 1, obviously.
Start me off at £40. 40 I'm bid. At 50 and 50 and 5.
Oh, it's brilliant.
You like it now,
don't you? I love it, still going.
95 now I'm bid. Round it up. Make it 100 then. Oh, £110 I'm bid. 110.
Isn't that
£110 you all done then at 110.
Get in there, Tim.
Yep, so surprisingly, Tim Weeks' little silver trophy from 1925 was the most profitable bonus buy for season 64. So if you pick that one out at the start, then you're a much more astute expert than I am, because I didn't see that one coming. Okay, so that was the top 10. Now, most importantly of all, I hear you cry, what does that mean in terms of points? Well, here's the points table for the top 10 entrants, or the top 10 winners. And as you can see, Tim Weeks gets 10, and so forth all the way down to Nick Hall. But of course, because Nick Hall appeared 3 times or had 3 items, then those points get added together. And so if we add those points together for our very first publication of the experts ranking table, we get this. So Tim Weeks has 10, Danny has 9, Nick Hall has 9, Izzy Balmer has 8, Kate Bliss has 7, Raj Bisram has 7, Andrew Irvin has 5, and all the rest have 0, which is largely not their fault, given that most of them didn't actually appear in season 64. So thanks very much for joining me for this very first episode of Antique Expert Expert, and for staying with me until the end. In the next episode of Antique Expert Expert, we'll be looking at the darker side of the bonus buy, which is the loss-making bonus buy, and I'll be reviewing the top 10 biggest loss-making bonus buys from season 64. So if you enjoyed the video, then please like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next one. And if you found my antique knowledge to be of no meaningful substance, then you'd be right, because I may know nothing about antiques, but there's nothing I don't know about antique experts.